Okay. Let's see how these audio levels are. How loud is this? Hey, Clippy. Okay. Just gonna wait a couple 30 seconds for people to come in. Yeah, so this is my game. Me and Andrews. Guess I'm just gonna play through it, and I'll talk about anything of note and ask any questions you have, because I will talk about everything. So yeah, this is the game. You start off in this ruins area, and there's a big door in front of you. There's these 3 emblems on the doors. Those are the 3 items you have to get, because if you go through the door, you can't get through any of these rooms. So yeah, so the game's randomly generated, kinda, and I'll explain how it works soon. A few people on like Reddit and Itch and stuff said that they still haven't noticed it still seems totally randomly generated to them, but I'll show in a bit just how stuff is, how we got away with we made all of the rooms in this game in a couple hours when last night, right before it was due. Is it open source? No, but the platformer engine, I'm either gonna do a tutorial series on YouTube, or just clean it up and put it on GitHub so people could look at it. I still have to find out how much I wanna, if I wanna make a full series on it. But right now the code is really messy, so this is definitely not open source. And maybe when the random generation is a little more complete, I'll have a separate thing on that. But the full game itself, we still want to keep making the game and like make it into a real thing. So like the platformer and random generation combined, that's our baby. Yeah, I might do a tutorial. And yeah, controller support. Controller support was just put in the input map. You just select it through Godot. It's great. But I want to have rebindable keys later. So as you saw, we got the boomerang, and then we walked into this new area. Now, one thing you may notice is, I mean, obviously the tile set's different, but this switch room was in the other one. So there's a few different room types. All the rooms are pre-made, and the majority of the rooms do not require any items, but some of them do. And we placed the rooms that do require items in front of like the next areas and stuff. to actually give it a Metroidvania kind of thing. So where a room goes, where the rooms go is kind of set. So we made a few different layouts, like actual maps that have where we lay out where each of the rooms go. But and the maps are dependent on each area right now, but we're gonna change that for the full game so that we could just, every single area just picks a random map and a random tile set, and then the map, for each room of the map, it selects a random room from a folder depending on the tile of the map. So if this tile needs, if this tile requires you to have the boomerang, it'll pull from some rooms that only require the boomerang. But the majority of them are default. All of the default rooms were made by Andrew, and all of the rooms that require items were made by me. And then all of the art was made by Andrew, and I did a little programming. He did the music. I didn't make the sound effects. I found them. Those are credited on the itch page. It was from Open Game Art. Is this the next room? Yes, cool. So all of these rooms are pre-made, but then he made the all the tile sets. He's like make the all the tile sets have like the same kinds of tiles, just different arts, but like the slope will always be in the same position, so we could just switch out the tile sets for each area. How'd you do that slide so easy? What slide? The slide? I don't know. But all the full game we want to have, so the full game's gonna follow the same structure as this demo, except instead of having 3 items where you always find the boomerang first, you always find the slide second, and always get the wall jump third, each room, each area could have any item, and the items could go in any order. And there will be more than 3 items, and it'll only pull rooms from a set of rooms with the items that are actually in that run, and it's gonna be a roguelike kind of thing. So I already have in mind how we're gonna do it, but there'd be any amount of items. Each item just needs like 10-15 rooms to go along with it. I mean, in this version, each item only has 3 rooms, so it doesn't even have to be that much. And then adding new content to the game would just mean adding a new item and then adding rooms that require that item, and then it'll just work. That's how we hope to have it. And then we could update the game as much as we want. I'd also like to have what enemies appear on each screen kind of randomized, not like totally randomized, but maybe there's a few different enemies that act similarly to the frogs, not necessarily jump around, but frogs are the only enemies that, adhere to gravity and walk left and right, and if you hit them, then they get knocked back and stuff. So maybe that would be one enemy type, and then each room would just pull a random enemy type. Things that stay on walls would be another enemy type. Things that fly around will be another enemy type. Just randomize everything. Try to make it seem like everything's actually new. We also want to make it so certain aspects of each room could be enabled or disabled randomly. that might just be decorations. It might also be enemies and stuff. Maybe this room would randomly have a mushroom right here or something. There's a lot we could do with the random generation, because it's very simple. And right now it's not super powerful. We could keep adding rooms and make a decent game, but some things are presets, and we'd like to make them less preset. But we'd also like to make I'd like to make each area have different kinds of rooms. Maybe the lava area, well, there's no lava in the game except for the very end. Maybe the lava area would have random pools of lava. There's a bunch of stuff that we could do. I mean, we could just... This game needs a lot of refactoring, but we could just keep adding new enemies and rooms to this, and it'd still be pretty fun. But I want to remake it so that there'd be new items and whatever more easily. Alright. I think that starts back here. Yes. So here's the last bit of our game. All of the rooms in this area require each of the items. So the first two are boomerang, the next two are slide, and then the last one's wall jump. Alright. I thought I fixed that. Cool. So this is the game over screen. If you press enter, it'll place you in the beginning of that area. Okay, a kind of bug here is this should have saved the random generation, and I guess I never fixed that. Never fixed it, but never changed it. All of the areas should have preset rooms, and then it also keeps track of which items you got, so they don't respawn when it regenerates. Anyway, this final bit doesn't have it, but it kind of doesn't need it for this final bit. So this next bit is a lava run. This engine started with a lava run game that evolved into this. The other lava run games, more fun, honestly. This just used the straight shafts rooms. The other one, it kind of, goes diagonally, could go any direction. I wasn't trying to make this the most feature complete version. It was just supposed to be some ending theme. It's also kind of hard. I didn't want to make the lava just instantly kill you, but it kind of does anyway, because if you fall in, you get stuck. I don't necessarily even want to change it. I kind of like the difficulty. Alright, you see, this is different from last time. But whatever. It works for all the other rooms, so. Okay. Let's not die. So, when the lava's on screen, it goes at a constant rate. When it's not visible, then it speeds up a little bit to catch up to the player. So it really doesn't even matter how fast you're going. The lava will be there. And then should be finishing up right now. Ish. A little more. Not more. Here we go. And And then that's the end of the game. That's not my Twitter handle, there's an underscore. But yeah, for now, because we're gonna be doing more. So yeah, that's that. Okay, I've been streaming for about 15 minutes, so a run takes like 10-15 minutes. It's pretty short, but now I wanna. What do you guys want to see first? The player code, the random generation code. Those are the two most interesting and also the two dirtiest. Random generation. So first, here's an example. So this is how I cheated. There's different layouts. Each area, so eventually I'd like for them to all pull from the same layout, but each area has 3 different potential layouts. I don't expect people to be playing more than 2 or 3 times, unless people really like it. So this was enough for people to not care. And the layout, it's just there's the. Also, I'll explain what these camera controllers are. I know how to make these a lot better, so you don't have to place them manually. But anyway, here's the start room, here's the end room, and all of these other rooms. So to get to the end room, you would go up here, but this room would require the boomerang. So you'd have to figure out where the boomerang is. So you would go try here, you can't go through here. Try here, you can't go through here. Then you would get down here and get the boomerang, and then you could go back up and go to the end. Then once you reach the door in the end, it'll pick one of these 3 layouts from the mushroom, and then after that the 3 layouts from the lava. And then each of these rooms is pulled from these folders. So the start is always gonna look like this. The upgrade rooms always look like this, and then sometimes it'll be damage, sometimes it'll be health. Boomerang, slide, wall jump. I wanted to make this I wanted to make it so you need to use the item to get out of the room, but then I forgot about it and ran out of time. And then these are the default rooms, so these rooms don't require items. So these white tiles will pull from that folder. And it doesn't matter, you could just keep adding rooms and you don't have to change any code. It'll just detect them in the folder and place them in. And then these are the tiles that require the items. So all of these have switch puzzles, so they need the boomerang. These have the tight spaces, need the slide, etc. So so there's some, I kind of just placed some miscellaneous code where I needed to put it to make it work immediately. Ignore this. So this first bit, it gets a random seed from at the beginning of the game. We have a seed here. I meant to make log files to have the seed, so if there's any major bugs, I would be able to just insert the seed right here, and then it'll create all of these seeds based off of it. But so what it does is it gets all the tiles. This works basically, if y'all are watching my Zelda tutorials, it works the same as the enemy spawner, except we're spawning rooms. And to pick a random room, we have this function which gets all of the rooms in a directory and adds it to an array. And then the new room, it'll just pick a random a random room from the directory, and that's pretty much it. And then if it's a shaft or upgrade room, by default those don't have doors on the side, so where is it? These bits just add doors if there's no rooms, not doors. It'll, how does it work? It creates walls on the sides and deletes one side of the wall if there's rooms to that side. This is for all the pulling randomly from the folders. For these basic rooms in this array, then it just pulls them straight from the rooms folder without going into... That just means they don't have multiple types. If I wanted to put multiple types for like the end, I would just remove it from here and then create a new folder and then do that. So that's pretty much how it creates the rooms. And these are camera controllers. So what this does is when you enter these area 2Ds, it'll set the camera limit to the room, to however wide it is. So this one has a scale of one by one because it's just one room. Same with that. Then this one is 2 by 1 because it's a too long room. That's what sets the camera to scroll in certain rooms, but then be static in other rooms. How I'm going to do this for the full game is, I'm gonna have it so, let's say for example the vertical shafts, if there's no vertical shaft above it, then that will be the start. That'll be the start, and then it'll go down until there's no vertical shaft, adding its scale. So scale.y plus equals 1. And that, otherwise I have to copy and paste these and then put it on each one, duplicate, put on the next one, and it's a little cumbersome. But it works. It only adds like another 2 minutes. But that's how the random generation works. And then the global script at the beginning of the game does some stuff like this picks the ruin. This selects each area so that when you go back into the area, it's always the same. Now the end area isn't. The end area keeps randomizing because it I didn't do the seed stuff here. What kind of objects are those in the room layout map? The do you mean the camera controller stuff? Those are just area 2Ds that detect. Hold on, let me go there. They're area 2Ds, and if the player enters its area, then it sets the camera limits to its size and stuff. So yeah. Hopefully I'll figure it out so that all we need, I mean, I already know how to do it, I just haven't done it yet. Just the layout will automatically create these camera controllers. But yeah, shouldn't be too difficult. What else is in the global script? Global takes care of a lot of stuff that, like the player's inventory, which upgrades have been gotten, because every time you go into a room, I haven't figured out saving and loading the rooms yet, so instead it just takes the seed from here and then regenerates the room. So this array keeps tracks of what upgrade or the position of each upgrade that the player has, and then if the player already got that upgrade, then it'll remove itself when the player re-enters the room. So it gives the illusion of it actually tracking progress, but it does remake the room every single time. That I'd like to fix, but this actually, the upgrades array, because it works fine. It'll append its area and position to the upgrades thing, and then when it's ready, it checks if it's in the array already, and then just deletes itself. So it works. Anyway, that's most of the room generation stuff, and here's the player. The player's got a lot to it. A lot of this stuff could be placed into more functions, and there's a lot of repeated code here. That, like, these states could have done with. I think this is reused in like a few of the. Yeah, here it is again. Except slightly different. Here it is. Here it is. So the player scripts I'm happy with, except it changes too much about other parts of the scene, which I have to change. This totally could have been a signal. What else? This I need to make better, but that works. I don't know. I guess it was mostly that. Most of the... Oh, this... I don't... That could be a signal. All of this stuff should just be shorter, and I need to comment it, like, this weekend. Because I know I'm gonna forget what half of this stuff does. I mean, I'm gonna remake the entire thing this weekend. A lot of this stuff is kind of ridiculous. The player... I mean, it works. People are saying they... I mean, actually, people are kind of mixed on the movement. They're either saying it's very snappy and nice, or it's, not. It's, but here's how it's built up. I have the HUD showing on the player script. Maybe people don't like that, but I'm gonna do that from now on, because then I don't have to worry about the HUD checking if the player exists, blah blah blah. Actually, no, the HUD could be outside, because a lot of the stuff is checking the global script anyway. The player... I need to put more stuff on the globals, honestly. I'll have, like, changing the health pass through the player, but in the end, the global should be taking care of that stuff. At the same time, though, right at the player sets, the global keeps track of the player node, so I could a lot of times I would check stuff by doing if global.player, or like in a body entered function, if body equals global.player, and that works really well. So some stuff can be kept in the player stuff, but like, I don't know, the speed or stuff that's not going to change for sure, but a lot of this stuff needs to be, I need to keep track between rooms, so that's like the max health, damage, has stuff, and it works nicely. And then here are all the animations. Here's what dying looks like, and then that would be on top of the screen, not in the corner of the player. That's on the canvas layer. And then the start is kind of the same thing, except backwards, and then it fades from black in instead of the other way. I also have the background here. I'll change that too. I think the player scene is going to have the animation, the sprite, collision shape, these three raycasts, which I might be able to change these, but these are just for the is on ground and is on ceiling only works if the player's constantly moving into that direction. And it's also kind of finicky with the gravity and stuff. So these just detect if the player's on the ground to switch to the proper animations. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, back, but I might get called out again in this minute. We'll see. But let's see. Yeah, so that's how the play works. I finally figured out how to call functions from the animation player. I never realized that you had to go into this button and then name the function. I could never find that, and so the tutorials I saw usually weren't very clear. But what else? That's a jump. Jumping, throwing boomerang. Wall jump. Oh, I'm missing a frame? I'm missing a couple frames here. Am I? No, I'm not. Just kidding. Okay. What else? Wall slide. Here's the wall slide, or the floor slide animation, and then if you're under something, it'll just stay right here until you're done, and then it'll move on to the next. Now that I know how to, I would probably call a function here to change the collision, or I'll just change the collision shape in this animation. I was just scared of if the slide gets interrupted, then the collision shape might not revert back. But chat disconnected. Okay, reconnected. Okay. What else is notable? Now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of this stuff is either basic platformer stuff that you could find anywhere on Godot, or a lot of stuff I just pulled from my Zelda tutorials. Like the damage loop is straight from Zelda. The difference being, instead of making the hit direction a straight slope from the enemy to the player, it only changes the velocity and then always knocks you upward a little bit. People want me to change that though. I need to change the hit center around a lot. I need to work on game feel in general. But this little bit makes it so that if you just got hit by something, you can't leave the current room boundaries. This works this exact same on the enemies to keep them from walking out of the room. I kinda if I could do the Zelda tutorials again, I'd do the camera similar to how I've done it here. Because then this also supports different screen scrolling in rooms. But I don't know. The one in Zelda works, and I'm not gonna spend entire videos redoing stuff that works already. I will say that after I've been calling it Season 1 of the Zelda tutorials, after Season 1, there's gonna be a long break. And hold on. One second. There's gonna be a long break after Season 1 because I've got a... Well, first of all, because I want to make this game really badly. And by long break, I don't mean like a year. I mean like maybe 2, 3, 4 months. Probably like 3 months. And honestly, there's been a couple, there's been 2 2-month breaks in the middle of my tutorials between, I think, episode 3 and 4 and 4 and 5. Because that was second semester of last year, and I was not doing very well in school that semester. But there's going to be a break from the Zelda tutorials. That's when I'm going to move on to the level editor tutorials. And then, and meanwhile, I'm going to be working on this game or whatever else. But there's still going to be a constant stream of tutorials. Like, once a week, maybe I'll skip a week here and there if I'm actually really busy. Like last weekend, but there will always be one. I'll shoot for one tutorial a week. But so yeah, the next tutorial series is going to be making a level editor. Then maybe I do platformer tutorial, since a couple people have asked for it now. I like doing the tutorials, but I will say the Zelda one, even though I still like making it, and every time I run it, it's just a joy to play. I'm not, and I know what I have to do in the far future. I just don't have as set of a plan after the dungeon's complete, and I'd like to take a break, recoup, and then work on some other stuff. Plus, I really just, after making this, like, it's short, but it's a complete game, I really just want to work on this and work on more games. Like, I've been making games, or I'm knowing how to make games for years, but then I never make one. So I'm glad this jam just pushed me and Andrew to just start a project and finish it, because it's cool. And then if we spend a lot more time to polish, if we made this game in a month, it probably would have looked completely different. We want to do, so the one thing we're gonna make a full game out of this, and I'm not sure the logistics of it, like where we're gonna put it, if we're gonna sell it. We haven't really talked about that at all, but our main thing is we want to make a full game, and update it regularly and all that. So we're gonna work on expanding the engine to be easily updatable, both in terms of the actual programming and the assets, make it really expandable. We also want to find someone. If you or anyone you know is really good at music composition, let us know. And I don't mean to sound rude here, but not like if you've made a track before, because this music's by Andrew, and the other track in the song is by Andrew, and I know how to make a song, but like if you have a portfolio of something really good and you'd be interested in helping in this project, let us know. And we also need to work on the sound effects and stuff. What else? I gotta talk with Andrew about it, but I'm interested in letting a couple more people on the team in like a month or two once we have our bearings. Like for now we could do everything by ourselves for a little while, but some people that I would like to get on the team are a composer who composer for I'm not really sure what kind of music it should be yet. Like right now it's chiptune, and that fits with the whole pixel art aesthetic, but this aesthetic's gonna change. Like it's gonna be pixel art, but not it's gonna be pixel art but not trying so hard to be like retro. Like having retro graphics is really easy when we're in a short time frame, but the sprites are gonna look the same, but we're gonna do fancy schmancy stuff like having parallax background. Right now we just have the static stuff. Parallax background. We're gonna have a bunch of cool lighting and stuff. This is a mushroom area, so I don't know if y'all have ever played Terra, but there's a glowing mushroom biome in that game where everything just gives off a really subtle light. We're gonna do a bunch of stuff like that to it's pixel art, but it's not retro, you know? So if we're stretching the retro aesthetic with the art, I'm also down to do it with the music. Like I mean Terraria, that game's all pixel art, but it has, well, I'm not sure if it's actually orchestrated, but you know, fake orchestrated soundtracks, and that not that exact kind of art style, but that kind of aesthetic is what I'd like for the game. And also gonna change the sound effects around. But I do like the sound effects as they are right now. Like that wasp sound effect is actually my favorite. I don't know what about it just sounds so fitting for me. But we'll see how the sound effects go. I think a mix of non-chiptune music and non-chiptune music, but old school sound effects might be interesting too. God, I did not fix that at all. At least it kills you. At least you can't get infinitely stuck in there. I'll do that when I redo the movement. So, any comments? No one's said anything for a while. Okay, cool. Just wondering if people are still there. When you start after dying or just starting the game, it should have some kind of spawn like Metroid. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Maybe. If I could find a jingle I like, I'll put it in. But, at the very least, I want the music to fade in as the player's, like, coming to. Because, hold on, let me die. Did I get the wall jump? Let me find the wall jump first and then I'll die. Also, the game's gonna be a roguelite. I'm not sure if people are still super interested in all these roguelites, because it feels like a new amazing one comes out every year. But it'll be interesting, because right now it's just a Metroid game that's different every time you play, but making it using the random generation, and then well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have the main game involve different dungeons each time with different items each time, and when you die you get a new dungeon, but if you complete it then you get some sort of point that'll let you, okay, that was what I was talking about, how it fades in, and then I'd like the music to fade in, and it's kind of, the music's kind of always going on in the background and the player just comes in. I don't know. But what size are you targeting for this game? How many hours do you expect to complete? So we need to plan out the exact scope of the game. We haven't yet. We're not expecting to have a completed game, or I'm not expecting to have a complete game for at least a few months. We might have demos here or there. I'm not sure if Andrew wants to sell the game. If he does, then there's the whole question on how we're gonna split and distribute the cost. I'm pretty sure he lives in a different country than me. But the game, I'm expecting on working on this game like not full time, but I'm gonna focus on this game for the next few months, and even after our first release, I mean, okay, I think the skeleton for the game, because after working on the jam and knowing exactly how I want to expand upon it, the skeleton of the game could be made in the next month, and then something could be released, and there would be it, like, we could release it as an early access thing in like 2 months. Now, do we want to? I'm not sure, because I definitely feel stung by some early access games, and I don't want to end up like that. If we can't complete the game, we won't. Oh yeah, the B made it through scenes, and that's frame perfect. That's a bug, but you know what? It happened in the original Metroid, so. But we could have a game out in a couple months as early access, but I don't want to. I'd like to have let me think. What's a good example on a game I'd like to so I guess the original, no, not that, had a ton of content. I think like Dead Cells and like Enter the Gungeon, I want it to be fun enough to play a lot of runs, but we don't necessarily have to. The game doesn't necessarily have to last someone like a million hours. Maybe just like, you know, a game that someone can get 10-15 hours out of would be amazing. You could already get 10-15 minutes out of it, so, you know, just what's the math? You make the game that many times larger. And that's doesn't even mean like adding 100 times more content. That also just means randomizing the rooms and areas more thoroughly and adding a few different items. Like, if we add one more item, then that's what? It goes from 9 possible rooms to what, 24? I think? I don't know. Are you planning more items? Yeah, a ton. So the basic gist of the game is, right now, there's 3 items and there's 3 rooms for each items. We'd like to have like 10 rooms for each items. Basically, every time we add a new item, we just add 10 more rooms that use that item. So then we could still fake the, oh, you need that item to progress to the Metroidvania kind of thing. but we don't have to you know, change the entire layout of the map. And then you'd have it when you start a game. Let's say there's 10 items in the initial release of the game. Could you do a quick dummy item to show it? No, I can't, because the jam. I'm saying that like that's how I'm going to remake it. The jam, it's pretty set. The jam has 3 items, and but that's a big thing I have to do while refactoring. The random generation is the biggest thing, but each run will always have 3 items and 3 areas, and I mean, right now the game's not very replayable because it's always going to be boomerang, slide, and wall jump in that order. Now, if we just keep these items and make it say maybe area 1 has the wall jump and area 2 has the boomerang and area 3 has the slide, you're still running through these maps and not knowing what item you're gonna get. So that makes the map still a little more interesting, because right now if you're in the ruins and then if you see this in the ruins, you know that's where you're gonna have to go. If you see this in the ruins, after the items are dispersed differently, then you won't know if that's the item you need. Maybe that'll lead to an upgrade, but you won't know what you need to get out of this area until you actually find the item. Any plans for boss fights? So Andrew had a couple. There's definitely going to be boss fights. Andrew had a couple ideas for different bosses. I'm not sure how we're going to put the boss fights in. If we have enough, I'd like to have 1 boss fight for every area. Maybe it's guarding the item. Actually, what I think I'd like is you get the item and then immediately get thrown into the boss fight, and then the boss fight could use the item. The only problem with that is we'd have to make a different boss fight for every single item, which won't necessarily be easy. So maybe for the first version, there'd be maybe 3 different bosses, and they always happen right before the lava run. That keeps the runs to 10 to 15 minutes instead of bringing them up to 20, 25. Because if the bosses are hard, you're gonna be dying too. We're gonna probably start with a few different bosses right before the lava run. And yeah, I'd also like, or maybe we'll have mini bosses that maybe just simpler enemies that use the item to fight it. You start with your strength from the previous run. We could do that, but we'd have to figure out how to scale the difficulty up every time. I mean, like I said before, I want the I wanted to have maybe when you start the game you only can find the boomerang, slide, and wall jump, but then each time you complete a run, how I think the introduction to the game will be, so when you first start the game you'll walk through some kind of forest, and then it'll you run through, and then it'll show you all the controls as you walk by, and then you go into some cave, and then you go down into the cave, and then you find some kind of treasure, and then as you walk up to the treasure you fall down, and then you fall into these ruins. Now once you find all the items and get back up, you get the treasure, and then the lava, maybe you had to fight the boss first, we'll see. Maybe the boss throws you down in the ruins. It doesn't really matter how you get it, just the fact that at the end you fight a boss, you pick up the treasure, and then you get the lava run sequence. And if you escape the lava run with the treasure, then that's a new... The treasure will be some kind of token to unlock new items for future runs. Boss fight could drain your health and make the lava hard. I mean, maybe I'll remove the lava run completely. The lava run has to be changed completely. I literally added the lava run in 20 minutes last night. That I'm pretty sure that's exactly how long it took me. It needs work. Maybe after you finish the boss, or maybe the I don't know. It would be stressful to finish the boss and then have an escape sequence where you could die and the whole run's ruined. So, yeah, now I'm thinking maybe not even have the lava run. Could also make bosses that require certain items to beat and randomize the boss fight and make the random routines somewhat intelligent. I won't ever pick a boss for an item you don't have. Yeah, I mean, that's... Yeah, definitely have to do that. Maybe each item will inherit from a certain type that the boss could always use to beat. So maybe not necessarily the slide or wall jump. I can't think of, or maybe we could have like Shadow of the Colossus type of bosses that require the wall jump. I theoretically know how to do that. It's just moving. It's the same stuff as moving platforms. It's just also on top of something. But for example, maybe there's a bow item and maybe there's a boomerang item. Maybe a boss requires one of these ranged items and it won't ever appear if you don't have one of them. Until then, they'll all just be generic. Maybe certain items will help you with the boss more easily. Like, that's how Enter the Gungeon, Binding of Isaac, I think Dead Cells works. Your weapons are... it just... Maybe certain weapons will help, but you don't ever need certain stuff. But I would... It would be very... Like, that would give it like the Zelda kind of style where you need the item from the area to fight the boss. I think Metroid didn't really play around with that too much, but yeah, it's just more math, more algorithm-y stuff that I'll totally be able to figure out. It's just we'll need to. The main thing is making the bosses. Wow, I'm lost. I'm not paying attention to where I'm going. I think it'll be more. Yeah. It'll be more fun if the bosses require the items, for sure. Another thing that I need to add is a map. I know how to add it. It'll use the layout. It'll take the layout, turn this into a smaller scale, and then show these one by one as the player gets through. I really want to do that because I'm getting lost and there's only 3 layouts for this area and I made all of them. So, we also need to figure out how to make is it this way? I don't think it's this way. It's not that way. Maybe it's this way. I want to have the areas have... I already talked about this. Here we go. Have the areas have more... I mean, once we have a lot more rooms, it'll, you can make a mental map more easily. But until then, we just need to randomize certain aspects of the room. Even if it's something as simple as, okay, maybe sometimes these pots aren't here. The little stuff might help. Just for establishing the mental map in the player. Okay, this isn't where I need to go. There's probably an upgrade here. Please be a health, because now I'm dying. God. Okay, I gotta pay attention. Damn it, it's damage. But, yeah, different bosses each time. And pull from different enemies each time. The enemies are really easy to make. I'll show what the enemy code looks like in a second. Once I finish this run. But, maybe a mini-map or something, map on the pause screen. Definitely a mini-map. And probably a map on the pause screen, once I add a pause screen. Here we go. Cool. And the health regenerates. Cool. Oops. one hit these guys with my boomerang yet? No, 2 hits though. Alright. Let's not screw this up. Don't even see the lava yet, so I must be doing something right. Okay, never mind, never mind. Yeah, so, I mean, I was able to figure out just the most like, all of the code for this jam is the most basic stuff to expand upon the game. Certain stuff like the preset areas I think could easily be changed. It's not something I'd do like right now, but I could figure out in a day, and then that'll randomize the game. And just these little things, just adding one more layer of randomization makes the game not necessarily more fun, but more replayable. And then more items, more all that stuff. So, and then adding new enemies. Here's what the frog looks like. So it's built like that, the same as in the other, as the player and the other stuff. So what the frog does, it has this timer. This is just a function I made that creates a new timer and connects all this stuff for me. So if it's not in the room, then don't do all this. Here's the gravity, here's just the flipping the sprite, animation logic. But really all it does, this keeps it from, this rotates it flips the frog to go the other direction if it's at the end of the room. But yeah, all it does is changes the move direction, only moves if it's in the air, and then jumps every once in a while. That's all it is. All this stuff is just whatever. And then the wisp, it just moves diagonally. And then if it hits something, it just flips that direction. So the enemies I could keep adding. The lizard was probably the worst one. Getting it to walk on the walls probably sucked. That's all I have to say. And then what else was there? The wasp. It descends until the player is found, and then it moves towards the player, or moves in whatever direction the player was. And then the wasp nest, it makes it every once in a while. So the enemies are easy. The items are gonna be harder. Couldn't you just give the lizard a different gravity vector? You'd think so. I don't know. I gotta think of an easier way, but I feel like I tried everything, and it's dumb. It's really dumb. I gotta fix it. I'll fix it later. Don't worry about it. But adding new items for the player might be annoying. I'd like to keep myself from having to create so many states, but I'm probably gonna have to. Now a lot of stuff will be able to reuse the states, like boomerang. Throwing a boomerang could use the same state as throwing maybe a javelin item, and the sword could do the same stuff with any melee weapon. So hopefully not too many items are gonna need it. I'm just worried of an endlessly growing player script, as with endlessly growing items, and it becomes unmanageable. I mean, the way I might just do it the way I have it in Zelda. I know it's bad coding practice for one object to change certain things of the other object, but how the Zelda stuff worked is it creates, like, the sword, for instance, and then that does a lot of the logic for the player inside of the sword. And then since it changes the state and everything, it doesn't interfere with the rest of the player stuff. I'll just put in the player script. It doesn't matter. all of this could be shortened down to a couple lines anyway, so it'll be readable. Plus, I'm the only one who's gonna read it. I don't care if you guys don't like it, honestly. And since I'm not planning on doing a tutorial for, like, a platformer tutorial, sure, but how to make a Metroidvania, probably not gonna do. So, whatever. What else? I mean, I don't know what else to show in the code. I'm just gonna do another run and talk more. Are y'all still interested in that? I'm just... Yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna talk. Feel free to shoot any ideas for the game. And please ask questions. But yeah, I'm so happy with this game, and so is Andrew. We were worried that we weren't like, it's not the most stellar thing in the world, but for a week, like, come on. It's pretty cool. And I mean, there's no randomly generated Metroidvanias made with Godot as far as I could tell. So it's got cool factor in a lot of ways. As just a game, it's not the coolest thing in the world, but a game jam game made with Godot, something that hasn't been done before, I think that's pretty cool. I'm gonna be really excited about it because this is my first completed game, and it's honestly I've been wanting to make this game, not this game exactly, but a game that's I got a lot of inspiration from Zelda 2. Looky, more Zelda inspiration. I was playing Zelda 2 and thinking of a game pretty much like this. I wasn't planning on having all the randomly generated stuff, but you know, that was a cool bonus. And then we made it. Andrew has also expressed interest in making a full Zelda game with the top-down stuff like the tutorials, but I'm more excited about this than that. I've always had a softer spot for platformers too, and even though my branding and all of my videos may not show this, I'm not as much of a fan of Zelda as I am of Metroid. Oops. So making a Metroid game is going to be a lot more exciting for me. Yeah, it is original. It's not the Zelda game is, it has different sprites, but it is a Zelda game. You can't pinpoint one game that this game is. Blasphemy. I like Metro. Don't beat yourself on the coding stuff. There are 20 people. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no one's gonna see it. I definitely have to fix it because it is getting to the point where I look at stuff and can't figure stuff out. But yeah, I'm not gonna worry about it because y'all aren't gonna see it. I'm gonna stream this game a lot. Yeah, as we make this game, I'm gonna stream as much as I can, at least for the first like little while. Maybe when the game starts getting bigger and I want to start keeping secrets, I'll stop doing that. But whatever. And also, I hate talking so much about when, because who knows if I'm gonna get tired of this project in a month. I don't think I am, because I've technically been sticking to that Zelda project for what, like 2 years now. I started that in my sophomore year of high school. So more than 2 years. No, I started that after freshman year on Game Maker. So I'm definitely capable of sticking to projects for a while. didn't necessarily get very far with the Zelda one. I got a lot farther with this. But now that I have a super talented artist who could just make art as fast as I could implement it, we're golden. And he's as excited about this game as I am. So we're making this. We're making this a thing. And I think we're both capable. This jam has shown that we are able to make a game. And I think the Zelda tutorial series also shows that we are capable of endlessly I guess the Zelda tutorial series is more me because he just makes the assets and gives it to me. But with the Zelda tutorial, this shows that I'm capable of making a lot of content very fast. The Zelda tutorial shows that I am capable of polishing something to eternity. So I just had to find a decent balance. Sound guy or girl and I have a solid team? Yeah! Someone to do the music at least, and then maybe the actual sound design, the actual sound effects. That would be perfect. That one I'll feel less bad about finding, like, open, like, what's the word? Open source. Oh no. Just finding stuff online that doesn't have a license, or has a nice license. Same with sound effects. Royalty free, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, sound. We have enough. We have enough to. Our team's big enough to work with right now because we're both. I'm a good enough programmer and he's a great artist, and we're both just good enough on planning the actual game out and creating all the levels ourselves. So, but if we get someone like someone who's has a background in level design, like a good background in level design. Well, actually, I wouldn't even say that, because it's not really level design. There's no real level design to be had here. We can make the rooms ourselves. Just creative people to make rooms would be cool. Maybe I don't know. Expanding the team's always nice, but we're solid right now. Maybe once the game's out, maybe if there's a community for it, then I'm thinking too far ahead. I'm just thinking of ways to create a lot of rooms really fast. Maybe when the game's out and we have some sort of community for it, maybe start having like room design contests, implement a level editor, and then make the rooms, and then whoever wins the contest maybe gets a free copy of the game. I don't know. Hey Funklick, I don't have audio in my right ear. You don't? Does anyone else not? Hold on, let me check my... It should be working. Oh, there's only been left audio this whole time? No voice in right ear. Hold on. Test. Hello? Test, 1, 2, 3. Is my mic even working? No difference, cool. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna here, I'm gonna turn the stream off and on real quick. I'm gonna switch it to mono. Okay. Alright, how about now? That doesn't work, then I don't know. Sounds mono, so that's good, right? It's coming through both ears. There's nothing I'm doing that requires stereo. There's no stereo sound in this game. Cool, cool. Oh, speaking of that, I'd also like to, the sounds in this game, if there's a lot of, like, wasp in the room, they'll all do the same sound at the same time. I'd like to, use, audio stream 2Ds, so that if you're wearing headphones, you can actually tell where the room is. I'm not adhering to, oh, this has pixel art, so it's a retro game. Like, Starbound is one of the most beautiful 2D games I've ever played, and that's pixel art. Like, come on. I don't know how many of you have played it. It's higher resolution pixel art for sure, but like, so take the smaller resolution of my game, and then add all these cool lighting effects. What's a it has all this cool fog and whatever. Do you prefer Starbound or Terraria's art? Whew. I think Starbound is more visually appealing. But as for just preferring, I prefer Terraria in almost every way. I really do like Terraria's art. It's not necessarily as pretty, but I like the aesthetic a lot more. Yeah. So, where am I going? Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery. Let me Google that. Let me get out of this room first. Okay. Oh god. This is okay, we can't do this. Because this has the amazing art built straight into the assets, and all of our assets have to be very easily reusable. But god, this is gorgeous. Oh my god, I would love to make something like this. This looks like a Hyper Light Drifter. Same general sort of art style, except Hyper Light Drifter has the more vaporwave aesthetic, I guess. Hyper Light Drifter is really pretty. Crawl. How does this game look? I can't remember. Alright, this game is kind of... It looks good, but it's flat in comparison. Celeste. Celeste is probably the greatest platformer I played this year. The art's really pretty, but it's, now that I'm looking at it, it's not what I'm going for. I mean, you know, subtle lighting stuff right here. And then it has, like, that snow going in the foreground. Celeste is really pretty. Oh my god, I love this game. This game has an amazing soundtrack, too. The Messenger. So, this game has a really cool art style, but it's not what I'm going for. It's very flat. But that's what they were going for. They were going for that 8-bit and 16-bit style. That being said, they oh my god, the backgrounds in this game are amazing. Yeah, I mean, the backgrounds for sure. Backgrounds, the general tile set itself, I mean, this has lighting. This is pixel art and has different lighting and stuff, but it's baked in with the textures, you can tell. But oh my god, it's cool actually being. I wish Andrew was here, but he's doing something at a con right now. It's cool. He's so talented. It's cool being able to see stuff like this and be able to think, yeah, we should be able to do that. Like, that's really exciting to me, because I've had programmer art forever, or art stolen straight from Zelda. So yeah, he's great. Okay, I don't think this is the right way. I think to the right is an upgrade room, and the left was, yeah, this is gonna be an upgrade room. Did I already get it? Damn it. And then to the left is where we got the boomerang. So I think I have to go just down and to the right. Also, did you know that Dead Cells sprites are actually 3D model and rendered as sprite maps, and they use shaders? Yeah, and oh my god, Dead Cells is phenomenal. I was about to say phenomenal. Yeah, so is everything 3D models? I know the player models are, yeah, this all looks pretty 3D to me. But you know, it's still, it's like 3D pixel art. It's gorgeous. If we could emulate something like this, but with just pixel art. Well, no, the resolution's too high. It's not really pixel art. I take it back. Dead Cells has its own unique art style. I need this game on the Switch so badly. I played a couple hours of it through, my friend has family sharing for it. Or I have family sharing for it from a friend. On Steam. What a good game. God. I mean, I could make a cool Metroidvania all I want, but Dead Cells has it down to a science. They did it pretty damn well. Now mine's a different play style, and how the items are actually used. I mean, Dead Cells, you kind of get the item, and then that opens up things in each area every time you play. So it's different. You can't really call Dead Cells a Metroidvania. It's still a roguelite, but you get items that help you throughout playthroughs. But God, what a great game! Great game. I love that game. Okay, down to the right, I think. Okay, never mind. Maybe here? God, the boomerang sucks against frogs. 'Cause it just brings them back. Okay, cool. Here's the ending. Also, just to let you know, that fade between room transitions, I added like right before upload, because the screen transitions were very, very terrible. Like, you would see the room get created and then positioned right in front of you, and then you would go. Story's not as interesting as I thought it'd be when I started telling it. I just really like the fade. And I have fades going on in a few different areas of the game, and now I know how to. I want to have like one global node that handles all of the different screen transitions, and maybe like the screen shake. There's no screen shake in the game yet, but I need to add that. All these little things just to give the game a lot more character. Do you have a tutorial on screen transitions? Is it just an animated black sprite that follows the camera? What? Is it just an animated black sprite? There's no animated... Wait. Oh, duh. For some reason, I was just talking about screen transitions and I started thinking that you were talking about the camera transitions. It's, yes, it's just a, here it is. It's just a colored rectangle that stretches out to the screen. Later on, when there's like multiple screen resolutions, I'm gonna probably just make the margin adjust depending on the screen resolution. And then 2 animations that set the color here. You could also do the modulate, but I did the color because maybe I want to do it from red later. And then here's, well, you can't see it here because the background's black, but this would fade in, so it would start black and then get whiter, so then the rest of the transition fades in, and then out is just the opposite. It starts from completely transparent and then goes black, so the room fades out. Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. Oh shit! Oh, damn it! I forgot what room we're in. Anyway, then I call it by doing fade in. That's all it is. And I'm gonna make the root be animation instead, so I could just do fade.play in. But that was a last minute thing. A lot of the game was added in the last couple hours. Like stayed up till 4 a.m. last night, fixing bugs. Not fixing bugs, just finishing the game. Yesterday the item code, the upgrade code wasn't even working correctly. There were no rooms. Yeah, I mean, I would like to do a tutorial on just a whole bunch of different screen transitions, honestly. Could also do stuff with, there's a node for taking a screenshot of the current scene, and then you could set something to that. You could set a texture of a sprite to that, and then have like the sprite move off to the side of the scene to do like a screen wipe or something. There's a whole bunch of different stuff you could do, and I'm gonna explore it a bunch. Just outside of Godot, or not outside of this game in Godot, and then maybe I'll do a video on it. Mosaic effect, yeah. I mean, I don't immediately know how I would do that, but yeah, just all this stuff is possible. I can't wait for 3.10 include coding so much. Yeah, I'm excited. This jam actually initially required people to use 3.1. I'm just gonna start another one, but then they changed it. I'm excited for 3.1, but I mean, the first few months of Godot 3 are still super buggy. Well, I'm still using 3.002. I think you replied to someone in the Discord asking if I was using 3.06. It ended up being irrelevant, but no, I'm not. I just realized I was using 3.02. I checked when I was posting this game. But yeah, new versions of Godot are always super fun. I started in Godot 2.1, I think. So 3 was a huge thing. I still use 2.0 for several, like a good 3-4 months after 3 came out and was stable, just because I was used to it. I started really going hard in 3 once I decided I wanted to make the Zelda tutorials. That's why when you see me going back to old projects, most of them are in Godot 2. I spent the most time on that. I think by now I probably spent the most time on 3 though. I mean, now I could say that I finished a game on Godot and it was with Godot 3. I'm really happy about that. Yeah, I mean, I know how to make games, I just never have. So this is really exciting. It's also really exciting that people on Discord and Reddit and Itch.io and Twitter they've been liking it. So I'm glad that people think it's cool, because I think it's amazing. And there's still a couple of you just watching me ramble about it for an hour and a half. That's thanks. Thanks, you guys. Yeah, it's like finishing an assignment, except you assigned it to yourself, and the assignment's actually fun. It just feels good. And I can't wait till I reach the end of Season 1 for the Zelda tutorials. Just because part of me really... I mean, I'll do what I want, but part of me really feels like I should get to a solid point of the Zelda tutorials before calling any sort of break. A lot of techniques can be applied. I mean, yeah, I used a lot of the code from the Zelda tutorials for this game. It's a lot of that stuff is universal. But what was I saying? Once I get to I wanna finish Season 1 of Zelda before starting anything else on YouTube, because I've been so lucky and so grateful. You, Sire, too, for all the. I mean, I think you're still my biggest patron, or maybe there's another 20, but so many people in the last 2 months have pledged on Patreon, and I mean, that's been like probably the most exciting thing in my life. That just the stuff that I've been doing for fun, I'm still able to do it for fun, but people are supporting me to do it. Like, and I really like making the tutorials too. It feels really good showing teaching people, and all the feedback, and anytime I get like mentioned on Reddit saying, oh, you should check out Forza, it's just the best feeling. Like, honestly. And it's great. So I'm gonna stick on the Zelda stuff until Season 1's finished, for sure. I don't want to make it sound like I'm not enjoying doing it either. I still love the Zelda project. It's just now there's other stuff that I really want to do too. There's a lot of standalone tutorials I want to do. Like, we just talked about the screen transitions and stuff. I want to do that. So I just want. I feel tethered to the Zelda right now, but I'm not unhappy with it in the slightest. I need to fix that though, really badly. That's the third time it happened to me. Damn it. But after that, then I'm just, and I also wanna. The good thing about the Zelda stuff is we knocked out a lot of future videos like the week before I started school, so no matter how busy I am, I could just make one. Now that wasn't true this week because I was making this, but fix it on stream, sure. Well, I mean, I'm gonna delete this anyway because I'm gonna redo all the movement. But let's see. So in the slide code, the main problem is with the damage loop, and with the damage loop, so velocity. No, that's not damage loop. What am I doing? So it goes straight to hit stun. No, it doesn't go to hit stun. It stays in slide. So it stays in slide the whole time. So at what point... Okay, is grounded and is on floor. Is on floor is the built-in function and is just a tiny bit more buggy, at least in terms of what I'm doing. Is grounded is my own function, and that just checks if the two raycasts going down from the player are colliding. And then it goes a little lower than the actual collision shape, so it gives it a little more leeway. And it just helps with, because the movement is, if you look really closely on the movement, sometimes it might be a little janky. So that helps with the animations, preventing the animations from switching too often and looking really bad. But okay, what am I doing? Default process slide. So what here moves? If I just put, can you use a debugger for what? I don't know how to fix this error though. It's something with importing the sprites, but I don't really care. It doesn't affect anything. If I put movement loop into the slide, what breaks right off the bat? So I should be able to move in multiple directions while sliding now. Oh, I don't have the slide, hold on. Okay. So that breaks that. However, if I take out the inputs, okay, that's not right. That's kind of funny though. Holding down and jump just gives you a long jump. That's funny. So, no, I can't fix this on stream. But I do know how I would. First of all, I'm gonna scrap all of this. But really what it is I put too much stuff in the movement loop. And the movement loop includes actually changing the velocity based off of run speed and move direction. Now, when you slide, it doesn't update the velocity when you start the sprite. When you gotta have input loops until you have... Yeah, I know, but I was just playing around with that. But the real issue is when you get hurt, once it transitions into the slide, after you get hurt, it doesn't remember the velocity.x. So I'll fix that later. I don't care. I'm not gonna do any more bug fixes for the jam. I did a bunch leading up to when it had to be submitted, but after I submitted, that's where it is. Almost 200 views, got 38 downloads, that's nice. Here's the jam page for it, by the way. It's in the description of the stream if any of y'all haven't played it yet. Yeah, I mean, I just looking at these screenshots, I think it's pretty aesthetically pleasing, and this is like the bare minimum. It's like, there's so much we could do with making it look prettier, and it'll be cool. I'm excited. First thing I'm gonna do is, well, tomorrow I gotta record a new video, or someday I have to record a new video for YouTube. Tomorrow I'm gonna work on redoing the entire player scene, and then I'm gonna start going through. No, I'm just gonna start a new project and start building it from scratch, actually. Cause certain stuff, like, some of these enemies require the player to exist for him to work. I need to fix that. One thing I want to do is rebuild the game with multiplayer in mind. Not necessarily that I'm going to be implementing multiplayer right off the bat, but I need to implement the player and stuff to, if I add another player, it won't break the game, and then it will use its own health and whatever, and it'll just pull from a different input map or something. I gotta figure that out. Because I like multiplayer games. And I think multiplayer dungeon crawlers just sounds fun. I don't necessarily know how I'd handle each player getting the items. I guess if they would always have to be on the same screen at all times. Or that split screen style where the players are both on the same screen when they're together, but as they would walk off, then it seamlessly transitions into split screen, and if one of them's on top of the other, then like the split will like change directions depending on the directions. I want to do that. I think I had that implemented on Game Maker before. I want to do it. But I'm not even gonna worry about multiplayer too much right now. Oh, let me remove this slide. I just wanna. I'm gonna remake this game with the code as clean as possible. Cause if you start clean, then it's a lot easier to keep adding on to it and keep it clean, you know. And I already made a game, so I know what I have to add. I just have to figure out how to make it look nice and easy to find and all that. And then however I expand the game later shouldn't be as difficult. Yeah, but I would say it's definitely. Well, I can't act like I know what I'm talking about, but I feel a lot better into going into this project after having it complete and then remaking it from the ground up, than I would like with Zelda, where I've never created a full game. I just keep doing it over and over again. What is that? Split screen. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. This is how I want to do it. It's just this, but it would be a platformer. That's, yeah. Exactly. But I'm not even gonna worry about stuff like that. First I need to make the first step is recreating this game exactly how it works now, except the player being cleaner and randomize more, but keep the same rooms, make it so I don't have to change any of the actual stuff. How did you make your background? So damn it, why did I close it? Okay. I just have on the player. It doesn't have to be on the player. I don't know why I put it on the player. I put a parallax background, so this works the same as canvas layer, except it goes behind everything. In fact, you could probably just use a canvas layer. Let me try that. And then layer -1, and then just the sprite fills the entire screen. But then you could use the I use the parallax background on a old project to make a parallax backgrounds. It was nice. Yeah, so it could just be canvas layer. You just have to set the layer to -1 or negative anything, so that it's behind the current canvas layer, which has everything else. So yeah. I was a little worried that the background would get stale after a while, but it actually fits nicely enough for every area. And it doesn't move and you stop thinking about it for a while, but it's not dark, so you know that there's something there, you know? Did I miss something? Where's the... Why do I feel like it's not seating correctly? I feel like I've gotten this layout a lot. Okay, that goes to the left, that's the same layout. Okay, never mind, just kidding. It's working. And let me just make sure this works. Yeah, cool. Other stuff. Yeah, so the current plan for the game is remake this, or with the exact amount of content. Are you gonna implement backtracking in the final game? There is backtracking. Well, what do you mean by that? Because the start of the game is, or the end of the game is located in the same room as the start of the game. Like. There's this door right here, and then you could go in here right at the beginning, and but you just need each item to get through it. So I have the boomerang so I can get through there, but then you need the slide and the other stuff. So, and you only get each item in each separate area, so you have to go to all 3 areas, and then once you get the wall jump, then you're able to come back. So yeah, there's backtracking. You plan on a mini-map? Yep. And I don't have an exact plan on how to do it, but I already have the basis with how the layouts work themselves. I could just take the used tiles of the layouts and transfer them into a different tile map, and then that tile map would display the mini-map, and then I'll show each tile one by one as the player gets there. So yeah, mini-map wouldn't be bad. And then a full map would be the same concept. But I don't even have a pause screen yet. Okay, I understand people's frustrations with the long animations for the weapons when I get to that. Everywhere else, I like the pull-out times on the sword and stuff, but getting the boomerang in there sucks. There is controller support. I didn't advertise it because I don't know, because it's not like you can't reconfigure the controls or anything. But there is a default set of controls that will work out of the box with any like D input or X input controller. I think D-pad and D-pad and the analog stick does the same thing, then B is jump, A is probably sword, and then or no, A is jump, B is sword, and then Y is boomerang. But yeah, there's controller support on the Game Jam project. I mean, I want to make one thing I want to do. So I'd like to I'm not sure if we're gonna sell this game. I really do want to like give you guys builds and stuff, and so there's gonna be like some short demos. I'd like for the next demo to have like a full option. Oh, he got out. Whoa. A full options menu. And have like full screen, configuring inputs, sounds. I think that's all I need. Okay. I suppose what I meant by backtracking was putting a required item in an area at earlier parts of the game that you cannot reach until later. Yeah, I could do that. I mean, yeah, that's the only problem with that is it'll still be kind of obvious that you're gonna get another. Well, there's no issue with that. Yeah, could do that. But the only thing is there's really not enough areas to warrant that. Or no, you know what? Oh, okay. Maybe, okay. I think what I want to do is to get to the end of the game, you need like some keys, like specific keys. You know what? Here's what I want to do. I want to have 3 keys in the game that are only accessible by getting, like, there's a key in the ruins, for example, the first area that you need the wall jump to get to, and that key will be guarded by a boss, and then and you need that key to get to the end of the game. Maybe something like that. I gotta think about it. And then maybe even that key, maybe you need one of those keys to get a different item in like area 2 or something. Maybe you could pass through area 2 without getting the item. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff to make the actual progression more interesting. I haven't actually thought about that much. Maybe there would be several different kinds of progressions too. We'll see. Because the only way I've been thinking about it is having 3 areas, you get 1 item to move on to the next area, and then once you get all the items, you go back. But yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, that won't be super interesting after a while. But I don't think I want to put an item that requires another item in an area, only because then there'd be too many items per area, and I think 3 is the safest number, because I don't know how many items we can add. That might be update down the line. If there's a lot of items, then maybe you'd get 5 items to play through, and then you need certain items to go back. Maybe certain items are completely optional and require that, you know? Lots of optional stuff. Maybe there's item A, B, and C right now. Maybe item C is required to get item D, and then item D is required to get item E, but you don't need either of them, you know? I don't know. That's something I have to have actually written down. But at least for now, it's gonna be the three items, 3 areas. But there is no reason that the layouts can't be made to just not have the item and let you go to the next one. It's just it also have to pull from a layout that has that item, you know? There's options, and honestly, writing, it's hard to test, but writing these different kind of game progression states wouldn't be too difficult. Backtracking has an interesting effect because it helps you reuse content, but then also makes you feel more powerful when you come back to it again. Yeah, backtracking is a huge part of Metroidvanias, and I kind of just inserted that in by requiring you to go back to the first room. So the other thing with that is, we need the enemies to get progressively, not more difficult, but different, so that once you get back to that first area, you do feel more powerful. So I kind of picked the lowest hanging fruit for this jam, but there's definitely stuff to do. Do you have any kind of music theory background? I have no idea how to make music, and I messed a bit with chiptune programs, but couldn't make anything I like. Yours sounds great. So I don't, and I didn't make the song. Andrew made the song. I have the bare minimum music theory background. I've made my own songs before with Sunvox. It's nothing special. But Andrew's the same. He doesn't have like huge music theory background from what I remember from our previous conversations, but I mean he made a cool sounding loop, and it's not like it kind of just sits there and gets in the back of your head and you don't really think about it, which is good because we only have one track and it's a short loop, and it kind of just meshes in, which is good. We'd like to get a composer and make different songs for each area. Yeah. Something NES style? I don't think so, honestly. Because right now we have I was talking about this earlier, I'm not sure if you're here, but we have a very retro looking game, right? But it's not gonna look like this. We're gonna make the art a lot more special. Because I mean, you know, it looks cool, and a lot of people like the retro aesthetic, but there's more you could do with it. And Godot kind of makes it easy to make stuff look cooler in 2D. So yeah, my point with that was, if we're gonna make the art look really fancy and stuff, I don't want to stick to retro sounding music. I mean, I brought up Terraria a few times in the stream. I like their music. They have that, or some of their songs at least, have that mix of chiptune but then orchestration. I'd like to find a composer with a good portfolio, with a lot of music I like, and then beg them to make music. Yeah, Super Meat Boy has. Or which one are you talking about? I haven't played Super Meat Boy in a while. Because Super Meat Boy has 2 soundtracks. They lost the licensing to the original soundtrack, which was amazing. The original Super Meat Boy soundtrack was like great. And you know, I think that one had the mix of chiptune because it was actually, I'm not sure what came first, but I know that there was another before Super, or maybe not necessarily before Super Meat Boy, but there was a Flash game just called Meat Boy by the same people. I'm not sure if it was a tech demo they made while they were making Super Meat Boy or if it just came first. But that one had chiptunes, I'm pretty sure, and then Super Meat Boy remixed all those songs. At least for the areas that they repeated, like Salt Factory and stuff. Okay. I think I'm just gonna keep playing this and keep talking. Until y'all get bored. It's been 2 hours now. Maybe in 30 minutes I'll stop. So that's like, what, 2 more runs? And now I'm starting to memorize the layouts a little more. I think I know where the item is here. Yep, see, I need to add more layouts. Once I remove all the terrible camera controller stuff where I have to place it manually for each room, once that's out of the way, then making layouts will take seconds. Like literally seconds. You could probably make a layout in 20 seconds. Of course it helps to think them through a little bit, but who cares? If there's a lot of them, then I feel like roguelites definitely take the quantity over quality approach, but I'm still gonna make the layouts as nice as possible. Same with the rooms. We had to make a lot of them, but we still made them pretty nice. Maybe some of them have hiccups here or there that aren't that good, but you know, we had to make them in one night. We did them to the best of our ability. I'm just really excited to make this game. There's just so much we could do. Like, we already know we can make a game like this because we did. Now we just have to expand the scale. File size isn't that big, it runs pretty well despite all the spaghetti code. Like, as bad as my code is, I think I have just enough good programming, what's the word? Fundamentals that doesn't matter. But yeah, I sit around worrying what I wanna do after high school and after college. What I want to do is I want to make games. That's it. I just sit around worrying about other stuff because I always hear the stories of people who try and then fail with their indie games. So I'm just gonna at the very least here I have the tutorial series to give. It's not even like half of minimum wage, but it's still a tiny amount of income, and then I'll make games. Try to make them good. That's something to do until I realize that it won't work out, and then I'll get a real job. But you know, whatever. So I think to the up right there's an upgrade room, and then there's more to the other side of the upgrade room. There's only 3 layouts, so I'm sorry to memorize it. No, I think this is the exit. That's fine. Just finish this run. I do need some health upgrades though. Can I 2-hit or 1-hit yet? I think that was 1-hit. I can't. Yeah, I can 1-hit now. Cool. I'll take it. I need health for the lava run now. Oh my god, I don't need this. I gotta make these shafts more fun too. And in a bunch of pretty cool looking rooms, they stick out like a sore thumb. But I kind of just threw some tiles together and tested them to make sure you can't get stuck, and that's all I did for them. Did I come from this way? I think I did. Can I 1-hit wisps? No. 2-hit? Cool. Still no health upgrades. I got it. Come on, please. Health. Please be health. Yes. Technically, if you, I think if you look in a health room and then, you leave the area and come back, I think it might actually have a chance to change it. I can't remember if that pulls from the seed from the layout or not. I think I have all the upgrades in this area, or maybe there's one more. No, I think I got all of them. I think I'm done. I don't really know what else to say. Yeah, I'm hungry. Thanks for coming.